What's up, boys and girls, and everyone else? This is another science video lesson episode right here. And for this episode, we will be going to talk about a very important process of diversification of organism here on Earth. Come join me today as we discover how species change over time through the process of evolution. Alright, so here we are in our topic for this video lesson. So this is the first part of our topic, which is the theories of evolution. Alright, so in this particular part of our topic today, we were going to talk about the concept and the people behind the idea of evolution. Alright, so it was 300 years ago. It was 300 or more years ago when people doesn't have any idea where the organisms here on Earth came from. All right, and they have a certain idea that there is a supreme being. All right, so there is a supreme being who created all of these things. And according to that idea, that these things that he or she created, this supreme being, is it cannot be changed, or it is deemed to be fixed. All right. So that was the idea of creationism. All right. So there are no people, or there are no scientists during that time that challenges that particular idea. All right. Until such time that there are some people during the Enlightenment, there are some people who try to find out some origins. How did the organism become like that, like this, and how do they become different from the other organism, even though they look the same? All right. So these are the two people that we were going to talk about. Actually, there are so many of them. All right. So there are so many of them who studied about evolution, but we will just shortlist them, and we will focus on these two naturalists that we have right here, namely Lamarck and Darwin. So let's find out. All right. So in this in this lesson that we have right here, have you ever wondered why giraffe necks are long? Okay, is it already long, or is it a product of something else? Okay, so if you have an idea on how giraffe got its long neck, so you write it down in the comment section below. Let me know. How do you know about this organism? What do you know about this organism? How do they got their long necks? All right. So there are some cases, or there are some accounts, okay, during that time that are used in answering that particular question. There are some accounts that the giraffe necks are product of stretching. All right. So stretching for food or anything that is located on treetops. All right. There are some. All right. So there are some that are very skeptical on that, and they try to find out. They try to reason out that these giraffes are just the surviving. All right. These giraffes are just the surviving variation of a lot of giraffes that lived long time ago. So there are, according to this version, that there are a lot of version of giraffes. So there are giraffes that are short neck, and there are giraffes that are long neck, and so on and then so forth. And this kind of characteristics manages to survive after all, after several changes in the environment, according to some extent. All right, so let me know in the comment section below, how do you know, or how do you know how does this giraffe got its long neck? All right, not only the giraffe, there are also animals that are said to be having these certain characteristics that made them advantageous in some situation. For example, this deer that we have right here, the deer, the one that you see on your screen, has the ability to run faster. Okay, because of its hind legs. As you can see, the hind legs that you have right here are very these are improved, all right, compared to other organism. All right, so if you will ask, so what is the reason why they run so fast? It's because of their predators. All right, it is the predators who tend to make this organism run faster. Okay, so how did it make it run? How did this organism got that characteristic? Okay, is it in the first place? Is it in the first place they be able to run faster, or is it a product of gradual improvement? All right, so not only the deer, but also the zebra that you have right here. Same question: are the zebras already striped? Okay, so what are these stripes for? All right, so as you can see, these stripes that you see here is for this is for the ability of the zebra to graze under the sun for a longer period of time. Okay, because the white lines that you see on their body reflects light. Okay, so the white lines that you see on their body reflects light. So therefore, it enables their body to cool down. All right, or not to heat up. Okay, as fast as it can, and they be able to graze the grass on this particular area for a longer period of time under the sun. That's one of the purpose of the stripes. And also, one particular purpose of the stripes that you have right here is it repels flies. Right? So that's right. You heard it right. The stripes that you have right here repels flies effectively. Okay, so these flies that carry some infections or it carries some parasites, it repels effectively. The stripes that you have right here repels effectively these flies, enable this zebra to be protected. All right, at all times. Okay, so there you go. That's the zebra that you have right here. Okay, so as you can see, it looks like a horse, but the question is, why does the horse doesn't have any stripe at all? Okay, so if this is a horse, or if this is a family or belong to the family of horse, why does the horse doesn't have any stripe at all? All right, so those are the questions. If you do have answer to those questions, you write it down in the comment section below this video. All right, so there are some notions about what is evolution all about according to some ideas and concept. Okay, so in the first place, 300 years ago, there is no one challenging the idea of creationism, that there is a supreme being who created anything and everything in this universe, and once it is created, it can never be changed, or it is seems to be fixed at all. All right, so if you are familiar with Pokemon, all right, so if you are familiar with Pokemon, so the evolution in Pokemon is somehow fictional. Okay, it is somehow fictional, and most most of the time it is somehow convincing, because in the manner of evolution of this Pokemon, which is Charmander over here. All right, so it retains its fire characteristic. All right, it retains its fire type, and it doesn't change. All right, it only changes the one that only changed in this particular character that we have right here is the look. All right, so it's look. So from no wings, it has now wings, and it into a more ferocious beast that you have right here. Okay, so not to mention the Digimon. All right, so in Digimon, the evolution of this of the characters there is from something like this, and it will evolve to become a refrigerator, and it will evolve to become a refrigerator that has a machine gun. All right, so that is in Digimon. So if you are familiar with that one. All right, so we have here regular people. Okay, people who do not have any idea about evolution, they likely to ask, or they likely to think that humans came from monkeys. All right, so which we will going to discover right here if that is true. Okay, so in this case, or in our subject, all right, in this subject, so we usually talk about evolution, how it happens, and it happens like this. All right, so we are talking about something like a tree. All right, so a tree diagram. Okay, in which all organisms are branch out. All right, they are somehow closely related to each other in each branches that you have, and they are merging into a one main branch. Okay, so these are the things, these are the concepts in which people conceive about the idea of evolution. All right, so we will try to discover which of this one is somehow plausible. Okay, now let's start first with the idea of Lamarck. Okay, about the evolution. Okay, so in Lamarck's theory, there are two ideas. So we have the theory of use and disuse, and we have the theory of acquired inheritance of characteristic. Okay, so each of the ideas we were going to discuss it right here, and we will try to find out if that is plausible. All right. So the first idea, or rather, who is Lamarck? Okay. So Lamarck, John Baptiste Lamarck is the name, and he is a French naturalist. Okay, he coined the idea that evolution occurred and proceeded with accordance with natural laws. Okay, so all of the ideas that he conceived on these two concepts that you will have later are product of its integration to the natural law. Okay, this is how Lamarck explained why organism obtain that characteristic, and how does it happen. And it always follows the natural law. Alright, to start with, we have the theory of use and disuse. Okay, so what does this one tells us? According to Lamarck, that this theory says that those body parts which get least exercise gets disappeared over time. Okay? It gets disappeared over time, and those which get the most exercise grow bigger or improve. Okay, something like that. Which is somehow plausible. But in some cases, there are loopholes on this. Okay? There are loopholes on this. Example of this is the tailbone. Okay, so the human tailbone. Okay, so the human tailbone is a remnant of the tails which comes from our ancestor who has a tail. All right. So why it did not disappear over time? Why is it there? Okay, not only that, we have the appendix. All right. So we have the appendix. So the appendix are remnants of the animals that used to eat grass or vegetables, something like that. Okay, so these are the remnants in the digestive system of those animals. So we have it like inside our body. So it serves no purpose aside from bringing up some minute improvements in the immunity of our body. So but it doesn't have any purpose at all. Okay, it can be removed without affecting your body. Okay, you will not die if it is removed, and you will only die if it is not it is infected, or if it is infected, something like that. Okay, so that is the appendix. And not only that, in some animals you can see this particular characteristic. Okay, so the snakes, okay, totally the snakes, the if you can see a snake, all right, if you happen to see a snake doesn't have any legs at all. But if you take a look at it on its belly, all right, so if you look the snake on its underside, you will see the small legs, all right, protruding out of its body. All right, so there are small legs. All right, so they didn't disappear after all, even though the snakes are not using them. Okay, still, if you happen to see a snake, those legs they still not use it. All right, for any kind of purpose. Okay, so why is it there? If you will base it according to this theory, why is it there? It should be disappeared, right? Okay, so the other one is the whale legs. Okay, so the whale legs. Now, what are the evidence that the whales have legs? Because it has pelvis. Okay, now the moment that you have a pelvis, all right, so the same bone, all right, it is the same bone that are found on our hips. So meaning to say that if you are an animal that has a pelvis, it means that you are walking on land. All right, so it means that you are walking on land. So that pelvis is designed to do that. Okay, so it means that the whale has an history, or has a history of walking on land, and it evolves to become like that. All right, but the thing here is it didn't disappear. That particular part of the body didn't disappear. So that's the loophole of this particular idea by Lamarck. Okay, so it means that there are some cases. All right, so there are some cases that this idea cannot explain. Okay, so that is why some people are doubtful, all right, about this particular idea, and ignored it. Okay, so according to this sketch, the man over here will move his legs just not to disappear, okay, over time. Okay, it's not like that. Okay, it is not like that. All right, so according to Lamarck, he explained why the giraffe have long necks, because over time the giraffes are, in the first place, giraffes are short neck to start with. Okay, giraffes have a very short neck. Now, when it there's a situation that the trees are the only food source. The trees are the only food source in that particular area. So, what happens is, in order to reach that food, the giraffe stretch its neck over time. So, it stretch, and stretch, and stretch, and stretch its neck over time until it stretch its neck to the giraffe that we know today. All right, so now the giraffes have long necks because of stretching. They can now reach the food. All right, so they can now reach the food on treetops effectively. All right, so that is according to the use and disuse. Okay, so but there are some accounts that some research that this is not possible. Okay, this is not possible. Okay, so there are studies that the stretching of the neck, okay, there are studies that giraffe didn't stretch its neck because in the first place there should be a bone that is connected that trace back to the giraffe, which is shorter necks. Okay, there should be a bone, okay, that will trace down to the shorter neck version of this giraffe. Okay, so there's none, and that gives us the idea that the theory of use and disuse by Lamarck is not somehow being supported. Okay, or there is a loophole. Okay, now followed by this idea, we have the theory of acquired inheritance of characteristics. So what is this all about? Okay, according to this theory, all right, so according to this idea, that whatever the parent acquired over its lifetime, whatever characteristic that the parent acquired over its lifetime, it will be inherited automatically by the offspring. In this case, we have the giraffe. All right, so we have the giraffe over here. Now, since the parent already established a long neck, so it means that when it got its offspring, it will automatically have a long neck. All right, so that's the meaning of this idea that you have right here: acquired inheritance of characteristics. Okay, or I can use another example. Suppose that you have a pet dog or a pet cat. All right, and you manage to cut its tail. Okay, so you manage to cut its tail to become short. All right, so what do you think will happen? All right, what do you think will be the offspring of that cat? Is it a short tail or a long tail? All right, so you may put your answer in the comment section below, and why? Okay, so you put it why. Explain why. Why is it long tail or a short tail? Okay, now the answer there is obviously it is a long tail. But sir, you are violating this idea. That's the point of it. All right, so that's the point of it. So if the cat's tail has been cut, and if it has if the cat has an offspring, automatically by common sense you will know that the cat will produce a long tail one, because you just physically cut the tail. All right, it is not embedded on the gene itself or on the DNA of the cat itself. You just physically cut the tail, and then that's it. All right, so it must be embedded on the genes for it to inherit that kind of tail that you have. All right, so another example: suppose you went, or your finger accidentally cut off. All right, so you have now 4 fingers. So if you follow the theory that we have right here, it means that your offspring will have 4 fingers only. Okay, so think about that one. Okay, so that's the theory of acquired inheritance of characteristic. All right, so that was Lamarck. Okay, that was Lamarck's idea. And again, the theory of acquired inheritance characteristics that you have right here has a lot of loopholes. Okay, it has a lot of loopholes, and the scientific community during that time didn't entertain this idea. All right, so until such time that Charles Darwin came into has an idea on how evolution works. All right, so he wants to find out on how evolution works, and by doing some research, a grand research about that one, he managed to find out this particular concept. Okay, so we have here Charles Darwin, the English naturalist, and he coined the idea that all species of life have descended over time from a common ancestor. All right. He gave an idea about the concept of evolution, and he said that, quote unquote, the concept of evolution, according to him, is the ability, or it is the ability of the species to change over time. Okay? So that's the ability of the species to change over time. Supporting with, or in related, or in relation to what the environment is giving to that particular organism. Okay? So that is his evolution, his idea about evolution. And all organism here on earth has one common ancestor. Okay, that's according to him. Okay, so let's find out the work of Charles Darwin. Okay, so during that time, the monarchy are very supportive to those people who want to do research, right? Especially in science and mathematics, something like that. All right, so they do some research, and being supportive. All right. So he gave the monarchy gave okay, the monarchy gave Charles Darwin, or they gave him a research vessel called the HMS Beagle to work on his research. Okay, so that's the HMS Beagle. And the purpose of this ship is not for war. It is for traveling around the world and study all the places the Beagle will go through. All right. So they went to South America, they went to different seas, different islands, and after 5 years, they go back again to England to consolidate all the things that they found out. All right. So there is one island that fascinates Charles Darwin, and that was the Galapagos Island, the picture that you have right here. Now, what made this island so special? All right, so that is the Galapagos Island. All right, so what made this island so special to him? All right, so it contains of several islands. All right, it contains several islands, and what makes it so special are the organisms, or the species of animals that lives on this island. That is what makes him interested. So, he stayed for about several months on this island. All right. So, of all his travel, of all his adventure, the longest, okay, the place where he stayed the longest is this island. Okay. So, he managed to do island hopping, jumping from one island to another, and found out several ideas about his research. All right. Let's start with the giant tortoise. All right. So the giant tortoise, he noticed that this tortoise is different from the one that is on mainland. All right. So these are different from the one on mainland. So he has a thinking. All right. He has a thinking that how is it possible that this tortoise, although it is tortoise, it should be the same, but it is completely different from its relative on the mainland. So how does it manage to become different? And not only that, okay, not only that, per island that you have right here, per island, the tortoise that you have on this island are different as well. Okay? Per island, there are different types of shell. Okay? There are different types of shell that you can find on each tortoise that you have right there. So this kind of shell are found in one specific island, and in another specific island there's another kind of shell, there's another kind of shell on another island, and so on and so forth. Okay? Charles Darwin managed to get one of this tortoise and brought it home. And recently, the tortoise died. All right, so I don't know if it is 2011 or 2015, something like that. So it died. Okay, the tortoise died. The tortoise that he took from the island died recently, and that's how long this tortoise lifespan. Okay, it's all about. Okay, so that's the tortoise. Okay. Next one, we have, if you are familiar with the iguana, the first color that you will think about the iguana are color green. Okay? So it is color green. But in the Galapagos Island, the iguanas there are different. They are called marine iguanas, still marine iguanas, but they are not colored green. Right? They are colored black in accordance or in similarity with the colors of the rocks that they live on. All right? Because the Galapagos Islands are volcanic islands, there are some rocks there that are colored black. So he described on his diary that this sluggish organism, and it looks the way it walks on the rock are very ridiculous according to him, and the color of this organism are black. Okay, and he compared that one to the color of the rocks in which this organism lives on. All right, so the difference is this iguana is capable of swimming, in which the mainland iguanas that he saw on the mainland was found in treetops or something like that. Okay, so these iguanas have the capability of swimming because their nose, all right, has a special organ. Okay, they have salt glands that removes the salt from the water. Okay, enable this organism to survive underwater. All right, and they do not eat things that are found on the treetops, but they eat things like moss or some small plants. Okay, at the bottom of the water, or some small fishes. Okay, so these are the marine iguanas. Okay, one of the things that fascinated Charles Darwin. Now, the tortoise and the iguanas are the organism that fascinated him. But what fascinates him most is the finches, or are the finches. All right, so the finches that you see right here are his groundbreaking work. Okay? Now, if you will look at the finches that you have right here for the first time, you will see no difference at all. Okay? You will see no difference at all unless you have seen their scientific name. Okay? You can tell the difference by their scientific name. Not only by the scientific name, by looking at it closely. All right? So by looking at it closely, another one over here, you will see the differences on their beaks. Okay? You will see the differences on their beaks despite they are all finches. Okay? So, the question that is running on the mind of Charles Darwin, how come that there are so many differences on these birds in just one place here on Earth? Okay? So, that's the question that is running to his mind. How come that there are so many differences on these birds in just one place here on Earth? Okay? So, he managed to get some samples, and when he brought that one home, he studied those samples and found out that these birds that you have right here came from one common ancestor. Okay? So, it came from one common ancestor, and that ancestor is a seed-eating finch. Okay? Now, because they are isolated to different islands, what happens is the finch develop this particular changes in its body structure, enables it to eat the fruit, or enables the finches to eat the available fruit on that particular, or not available fruit, food. All right? The changes on the beaks enable the finches to eat the available food on that particular island. In one island, there are only leaves, so there are finches that develops this kind of beak. So as an insect eater that you have over here, we have the tool using finch that you have over here to eat. This is designed, all right. This finch is designed to eat plants or something like a food that requires a tool for the finch to get. All right, we have the grubs or small insects, or it eats a small insect or beetle like animal, something like that. So we have here the fruit eater, something like that. Okay, so these are the adaptation of the finches on the different islands that Darwin observed. Okay? And it came from one common ancestor. Now, the question is, how is this possible? Okay? During his time, he do not have any idea how is this possible. Okay? But he only knew one thing, that these finches that you have over here came from one common ancestor. Okay? So, because of how the environment works, on his because of how environment works on these finches that you have right here, it changes the structure of the finch. So he developed the first idea in his work called the theory of natural selection. All right, so the idea of natural selection. Okay, organism change because nature pressures them to change. Okay, only the organisms that are adapted to this pressure will be able to survive and carry out these particular genes to the next offspring. That's the idea about the natural selection. All right. Now, not only that. Now, according to Charles Darwin, that for the natural selection to occur, all right. So for the natural selection to occur, there are three conditions that are met, that must be met. Okay. So the first one is very important that we have right here: variation. Okay, so variation is important. Okay, so that's the thing that we have right here. Okay, so without variation in the population, the whole population will likely to be decimated once an environmental changes happens on that particular area. For example, bacteria. Okay, bacteria are doing asexual reproduction. In asexual reproduction, the advantages there is you can reproduce in a fast pace. Yes, you can produce in a fast pace in an asexual reproduction. But the downside of asexual reproduction is you will produce an offspring that looks like the parent. Okay, there's no changes at all. There's no variation. Okay, unlike in the sexual reproduction, when you do sexual reproduction, variation is automatically applied. Okay, variation is automatically applied. So once you produce an offspring, there is a variation among them. All right. So in bacteria, once you subjected them to antibiotic, all right. So all bacteria that are not resistant to that antibiotic, they will die. Okay, they will likely to die because they are just the offspring. All right. So the generation of the bacteria that was produced are the same as the parent. Okay, because they are doing asexual reproduction. They do not have variation at all. Alright, so they do not have variation at all. In humans, we do have a lot of variation. Okay, there are tall humans, they are short, they are white color, okay, skin color, they are black skin color, dark skin color, something like that. So the eyes itself is different as well. The nose shape is also different. So those are the variations in the population. Alright, so it must exist. Okay, no matter what happened. Alright, so variation among individuals must result in the difference in the number of offspring. So the idea here is that the individual, alright, the individual that has an advantageous variation or advantageous trait over that particular environment will reproduce more than those individuals that do not have an advantage or that has a disadvantage. Okay, that has a trait that is a disadvantage to that particular environment. So in some cases, when the resources are scarce, meaning to say the organism will produce fewer. Okay, the organism will, or the animal or any organism will produce fewer offspring. When the resources are many, okay, when the resources are present and available all the time, then the organism will tend to produce more offspring. Okay, so that's the thing there. Okay, and finally, the third one is variation must be genetically inherited. So what does it mean? Okay, what does it mean? Now, the two conditions that you have right here are useless if you will not inherit your variation to your next offspring. Okay, what's the use of your variation and what's the use of your reproduction if you will not inherit those variation in your offspring. That's the reason why these variation are embedded in the DNA. Alright? They are embedded in the DNA. So, this is very important. And once it is in the DNA, it will be inherited by all the offspring over the next generations to come. Okay? So, that is the variation. Okay? So, all of these things must be perfectly met in order for natural selection to work. Now, how does it work? Okay, suppose we have here the ancestor, all right, or the parent. Okay, so the parent organism produce three kinds of variation that we have right here. The first one is the white, the second one is the light colored gray, and the third one is the dark colored gray. All right. Now, now in evolution to happen, okay, for evolution to happen, one thing is very important. That is variation. Now, who dictates variation? And that is mutation. Now, if you don't have any idea about mutation, so just click the link above this video. It will appear there. So just click that link and it will show you the video lesson about mutation. All right. So that is mutation. So just watch that one first if you don't have any idea about what is mutation all about. All right. So, hey, that is mutation. And this mutation enables you to produce these three variations that you have over here. Now, that's the first one. First thing that you need to that you need to take note of about evolution. For evolution to happen, you need to have a mutation that produces variation. Okay? Next one. The second one is, right, so these are the things that you need that will happen. Okay? So the white variation that you have right here is not be able to survive on the environmental changes because it is unfavorable. That mutation is unfavorable to the environment in which this particular organism thrive. All right. So it likely that the white that you have over here likely to die off. Okay, so they will die off, and the only surviving variation is the light gray and the dark gray. So we have the number 2 and number 3. So what is the second important thing about evolution? That is the natural selection. Okay? So, or the survival of the fittest. Okay. So, why is number 2 important? Okay. If the mutation is unfavorable to that particular environment, then the environment will eliminate that particular unfavorable trait. Okay? So, if the environment didn't do that one, so the population will increase and it probably the possibility that will happen in that particular scenario is the resources will run out or something like that, or this particular organism will not be in check. Okay? So nature always check this organism. All right. Now, the next part is those who are those surviving members will tend to reproduce. Okay, they will tend to reproduce. So those surviving members. Okay, and after several generation, again, there is a changes in the environment, and the one that is favorable are these two traits that you have right here. Okay, so these two traits. Right. So these are the favorable traits. So again, those who have unfavorable traits, they likely to die and not survive in the process. And those who survived will tend to reproduce for the next generation and carry out this variation. They will carry out the variation that they obtained from their parents in the first place. Okay? So the third important thing for evolution to happen is reproduction. All right? So we have mutation, natural selection, and reproduction. All right? So they are all important. They one will coexist or one will not coexist or one will not exist without the other. Alright, so mutation is very important as long that there is natural selection and reproduction. All right. Now, reproduction is somehow important if there is natural selection and mutation, and so on and then so forth. If one of them is missing, then evolution will not occur. Okay? So, always remember that one. Okay. Next one. Okay. Now, this is Darwin's explanation to the giraffe. Why giraffe have long necks? Okay, long time ago, giraffes have short neck, a medium neck, and a long neck. All right. So when the food is on the ground level, all right. So when the food is on the ground level, long necks, short necks, and medium neck giraffe are advantageous on that particular food source. They can eat those food source. And also, if it is located on the midsection of the treetop or trees, okay, they can eat that one, even the short ones. But okay, there is a changes in the environment that happened. So it likely that all the grasses, all right, all of these grasses that you have right here are subjected to grass fire or something like that. So wildfires, and eventually all the grass have been decimated. The only thing that remain is the treetops. So obviously, those who have advantageous traits, this one, will likely to utilize their traits, the advantageous trait, in order to survive that changes in the environment. Those who cannot died out. And it happens that those who survive will carry out these particular traits to their next offspring. Okay? Do we still have short giraffe that will be produced? Yes, but in a very rare occasion. Okay? Most of the time, most of the most of the parents will likely now to have long necks. All right? But they will tend to reproduce short necks in a lower probability. Okay? So that is how natural selection in giraffes explained by Charles Darwin. All right. So, okay. Just to conclude, what is natural selection? All right, the theory of natural selection. The natural selection theory, okay, does not grant the organism what they need. Instead, the natural selection grants the organism's survival based on what they need. All right? So, it grants the organism survival. So, it talks about the survivability of the organism, survival. Okay? Based on what they need. Okay? So, it doesn't grant the organism like the one that you see here. It doesn't grant the organism the things that they need. Just because they think they need that particular trait, it means that it will appear immediately. No, it will not appear immediately. It will appear over time. Because they need to survive first on that particular environment in order based on what they need. Okay? So that is the theory of natural selection. So part of this lesson that we have right here, I will also include how COVID-19 virus uses natural selection in order to mutate itself. All right. So the reason why we are doing lockdowns, the reason why we are doing lockdowns is to prevent the mass gathering. All right? To prevent the mass gathering. Now, that is one way of preventing the virus to mutate, to prevent mass gathering. Now, the moment that the virus be able to transfer or infect many people, okay, in a particular area, okay, the tendency is they will likely to mutate. They will likely to change their spike proteins in the system of the virus, and these spike proteins are very important in how the virus will survive. Especially there are some spike proteins that are very there are some spike proteins that are immune even to the antibodies. Okay, like the one that we have here today, or we called it the double mutant variation of the COVID-19 that came from India. So this variation has a spike protein that has the ability to ignore the antibodies in the immunity All right? These antibodies that are found inside the body that we have, inside our body. So this is in a manner of how the virus will infect, all right? Or how the virus will effectively infect a particular person. Okay? So the mutation happens only on the spikes, okay? And now, I don't know if there will be a case where the virus will likely to mutate its contents. So I hope it will not happen. So that is why we have this measure to prevent mass gathering. The more the virus infect more people, the more it will have a chance to mutate itself. All right? So the reason for the mutation is for it to be effectively infecting the person, all right? Infecting the person. And another reason for the mutation of its spike protein is to effectively attach itself to the cell that the virus targets. Okay, especially the cells in our lungs, the respiratory system, the cells there is their target. So, okay, so might as well prevent mass gathering if you do not have any important things to do outside, do not go outside. Okay, as much as possible, let the mutation, all right, so let the mutation of the COVID-19 stays only on its infection, okay, infectious side. All right, so I hope that there will be no mutation on the virus that will make it more deadly, okay, than the original one. Okay, so that is how natural selection is being used by the COVID-19 virus. Okay. All right, so next one is the theory of common descent. All right. So we have here the theory of common descent, and what does this one tells us? So if you take a look at the picture, all right. So let me know in the comment section below if the picture is correct or not. Okay? If this picture is correct or not. So let me know in the comment section below. All right. So basically, what you see on this picture is not the portrayal. All right. This is not the concept of evolution. This is the incorrect concept of evolution. All right. These are some people. There are some people who ask if evolution is true, why there are still monkeys. Okay. So those are the questions by some people. If evolution is true, why there are still monkeys? So how will you answer that question? Okay, so how will you answer that question if someone asks you? Now, the question has something to do with the common descent. All right? It has something to do with the common descent. So what does it mean? Okay, all organisms have one common ancestor. All right? And this common ancestor has the characteristic that was distributed all throughout its branches. Okay? Now, to answer the question, going back to the question and connecting it with the common descent idea about by Charles Darwin, how will you answer that question? Okay? Again, the question was, if evolution is true, why there are still monkeys? Monkeys will not disappear. The chimpanzees, the orangutans, the gorillas will not disappear, even though there are now humans, because we did not came from those animals. Okay, so we did not came from those animals. Instead, those animals are our close relative. Okay, those animals are our close relative. We did not came from them, or the monkey did not, or the monkey did not give rise to human, and so on and so forth. All right, it is not that way. All right, instead we are branch out. We have several branches. These are the chimpanzees. These are the humans. These are the gorillas, the orangutans, other smaller primates, and we have one common ancestor. All right, so we have one common ancestor. This is how it looks like. Not the one that you have right here. Not this one. All right? So that's how common descent works. Okay, that's how you answer that particular question. Okay? So, the next one. How does it look like? Okay. Now, this is what the tree of life looks like. All organism here on earth. All right? So, all organism here on earth, big or small, they came from one common ancestor. And that is a single-celled organism. Okay? All organisms here on earth come from one common ancestor, the single-celled organism. And what is that single-celled organism is all about? Well, there are some cases that the scientists doesn't have any idea because there are no fossil evidence that are linked to this common ancestor that we have. Okay, but biologists and some evolutionists says that it is possible that our common ancestor or our ancestor, the ancestor of all organism here on Earth, is a single-celled organism. Okay? So that is the theory of common descent. Now, upon looking at this picture, you cannot tell, right? You cannot tell whether the organism is a fish, salamander, tortoise, chick, hog, calf, or cow, rabbit, or human by just looking at number 1. Now, if you just look at this row, you cannot tell which one is a fish, a tortoise, etc., etc. Okay? So, if you just look at this row, as you can see, they have similarities, right? Okay? They have similarities. And we can conclude on this one that all of these organisms came from one common ancestor. And the common ancestor looks like this. Okay? The common ancestor looks like this. The one on the row, the first row. Okay? So, that is the idea of common descent by Charles Darwin. Alright. So, other evidences of common descent. So, we have DNA and RNA codes, anatomical homologies, which we will going to talk about later. That is part of the evidences of evolution. All right. So we have the chromosome fusion. All right. We have the convergence. Okay. So convergent evolution and some form of uniqueness over these organisms. Okay. That tells us that some organism or all organism here on Earth have just one common ancestor. All right. All right. So here we are in the evidences of evolution. Again, what this part 2. Okay, what this part 2 of our lesson about evolution is all about? It talks about how evolution happens or what are the proof that evolution is happening. Okay? So these are the evidences of evolution and there are 4 of them. Okay? We will try to find out what are those evidences that will convince us, all right? That will tell us that evolution occur. Okay? So the first one, okay, the things that we have right here. So evidence. So what is the word evidence all about? That's the available body of facts or information indicating whether a belief or a preposition is true or valid. All right? So that is a synonymous to the proof, confirmation, verification, substantiation, corroboration, and many more. All right? So that's the word evidence. Okay. So in this case, about evolution, we will try to find out some information that will lead to the idea of what is evolution and how does it work. All right? It will also answer how does it work. Okay? Now, we need to prove first if evolution is happening. Okay? It happens. Okay? If evolution happens. Alright, so let's try to find out. Okay, so these are the 4 evidences of evolution. First one is the biogeography. Alright, so we have comparative anatomy. So we have comparative embryology. And we have the molecular biology. Alright, so these are the things that we will look. Okay? If you want to know if evolution is true or not. Okay? So the first one we have right here is the biogeography. Okay? So what is biogeography? Alright, so biogeography is the distribution, okay? The geographic distribution of organism here in this planet. Okay, so that is the geographic distribution. This is the connection, all right? So this is the connection between your earth science and your biology. All right. So the topic in our earth science long time ago, all right? So the link is above. All right, it's about the plate tectonics. Yeah. All right. So I will place the link above. So just click it, and if you don't have any idea about the plate tectonics, so you just watch it, the plate tectonics. How does the movement of plate tectonics be able to provide stepping stone for evolution. Okay, so that is biogeography. So I cannot pronounce them is as one straight word. Okay, so that is biogeography. So let's try to find out what is this one. Okay, so we have different examples that we have right here. Now, because of the action of the plates, it also triggers how the organism evolve or changes. Okay? So like the one that you have right here, the case of the flightless bird. All right? So the flightless bird are not limited to one area only. Right? There are some flightless birds that are found in South America. We call it rhea. And we have in Africa, we call it ostrich. And in some cases, in Australia and New Zealand, we call it kiwi and emu. All right? And in Papua New Guinea, we have the kasuari. That is a large flightless bird. Okay? So, the similarity on all of these organisms that you have right here, they are all flightless. But, they are scattered or they are distributed in different continents that you have right here or different places. Okay? But still, they stick on their similarities of traits, and that is being flightless. Okay? So next one, we have another example here, the Arabian camel, the Bactrian camel, and the llamas. Alright, so the Arabian camels are located in this one. Okay, in the Middle East. Alright, and the Bactrian camel, the one that you have right here, is located in some parts of the Africa. And the llamas are located in the American region. Alright, so in the Americas. Okay, so what's the similarity between these things that we have right here? So the humps, alright, on its back. Okay, llamas doesn't have any hump. Alright, so as you can see here, regions that are found in this in this region, water is the availability of water is somehow not a problem. While these two organisms that you have right here, the Bactrian camel and the Arabian camel that you have right here, there's a problem with the availability of water. So that is why the availability of water enables these three organisms right here to change and develop the way they are right now. Okay? So these are the camels and llamas. Alright, so we have another one. We have the pangolins and some anteaters. Okay. Now they share one trait. They have a very sticky tongue. All of these organisms has a sticky tongue. And those sticky tongue is very important in their feeding frenzy. Right? So when they use their sticky tongue, the ants, the termites, and smaller animals or insect will likely to attach on that tongue, and they will likely to be eaten by these animals that you have right here. Alright? So that is their characteristic. So what is the difference? What is the difference? In America, the armadillo there is somehow covered with armor plates. The anteater in South America is not covered in armor plates. Instead, it has fur. Alright? It's made up of fur. Something like that. And meanwhile, the giant pangolin in Africa is somehow made up of scales. Alright? So unlike the one on America, so the giant pangolin in Africa is somehow has a larger scales compared to armadillo. We have the spiny anteater. So instead of having scales or fur or even plates, it has a spines or spiky skin. Alright? It contains spines. Okay? So it contains spines on its skin for protection. So that's the difference. Okay? That's the difference. So, but all of them have similarities. They are all anteaters. So we can safely say that their ancestor is used to be anteater. Now, unfortunately, the plates in the Earth's plate, okay, the lithospheric plates of this planet broke up. Okay, they broke up, and the plates distributed these organisms to where they belong right now. Okay, so that's how the biogeography works. Okay. So that's one evidence of evolution. Not only that, there are also another one, the lungfish. All right, the lungfish. there are three kinds of lungfish. We have the African lungfish and I forgot the other one. So there are three types of them. So you can find them on the Google search. Try to find them in the Google search. Different kinds of lungfish. All right, you will see that there are three of them. Okay, and I think the fourth one is extinct already. Okay, I think the fourth one is extinct already. So that was the biogeography. All right, so the second evidence that we have right here is called the comparative anatomy. All right, so we can compare the anatomical structures of this organism if you want to find out if evolution is plausible. All right, so if there's an evolutionary work that is happening. Okay, so what is comparative anatomy? That is the comparison of body structure in different species. All right, that's the comparison of body structure in different species. Example, or we have the first part that we have right here is called the similar but different. Okay, so what do you mean by this one? Similar but different. So these are the parts that look similar but different in purpose. Okay, these are the parts that is said to be similar. They look similar, but they have different purpose. So what are those? Okay, so these are the bears that you have right here. Okay, so the grizzly bear and the polar bear. As we all know, they look different from each other. But the fact that they are bear, okay, they are both bears, so they have the characteristics of being a bear, but there are some differences between the two. Okay, so this one is living in a temperate region, and meanwhile, this one is living on a colder regions. All right, Arctic regions. Okay, we have the dolphin and then the fish. Okay, so as you can see, fish and dolphin are completely unrelated to each other, but they have one thing in common: they can swim. Okay, because they have flippers and tails for swimming. All right. Next, all right. So that is some examples that you will encounter here. So what are these? Okay, we can talk about these things as structures. Okay, so how these structures evolve. Okay, so the first structure that we have right here is called the analogous structure. The analogous structures are features of different species. This is likely the appendages, all right? The appendages or the parts, okay, on their body, okay, most of the time, and that are similar in function but not necessarily in structure. Again, these are parts that are similar in function but not in structure. Okay, so take note that one. Okay, so the analogous structure do not derive from a common ancestral feature. So meaning to say that this structure that we are talking about here did not come from one common ancestor. They are unrelated to each other. Okay, they are completely unrelated to each other, and the reason why they have the same structure or same function, the reason why those structure tends to have the same function, it's because of some environmental challenges. All right? So that's the reason that they have that's the reason that these structures have similar function but different in anatomical structure. All right, so let's find out what are these structures. So we have wings. All right, so we have wings. Okay, so bird wings and bat wings are homologous. But bat wings and bird wings are analogous to insect wings. As you can see, insect wings are for flying. So as for the bird wing and bat wing. But if you happen to notice, their bone structures are completely different from the insect wings. Insect wings are made up of membranous portions of the insect. So they are made up of membranes, and it contains some blood vessels on it. It contains some blood vessels and membranes that comprises your insect wing. Okay, but both of them or all of them are for flying. All right, so that is the bat wing, bird wing, and insect wing. All right, next one is another analogous structure is the eye. Right, so it's the eye. So the eye has a similar function. It is a light sensitive organ. Okay, so the one on the squid and the eyes on humans are analogous to each other. They are light-sensitive organ. They are used for imaging. Okay? They are used to locate some image. All right, using the light. Okay, what is the difference? What is the difference? The difference is the structure. The structure of the eye of the squid is different from the structure of our eyes. Okay? There are a lot of differences. Okay. Next one is the homologous structure. Okay, so if you do have more analogous structure, all right, so if you do have a lot of, or if you do have an example of analogous structure, so please write it down in the comment section below this video. All right, so what the next part is the homologous structure. So what is a homologous structure? Homologous structures are structures, all right, with that has the same origin. Okay, it has the same embryonic origin. Therefore, it has the same structure. Okay? It has the same structure, but the function of that structure is different from one another. Okay? Again, homologous structures are structures that has the same anatomical features. It has the same anatomical features or same parts, but, all right, same basic parts, but they have different, all right, though not necessarily sharing the same function. Different function. It has different function. Alright? So, that is the homologous structure. Okay, let's find out what are the parts. Alright, what are some examples that we have right here about the homologous structure? So, first one is our hand. Okay, homologous in terms of number of digits. Alright, and number of fingers. Okay, so there are 5. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So also with the chimpanzee hands, human hand also has 5. Gibbon hands also has 5. What the difference is their function. Okay, their function. Most of the time, this one is for grabbing the 3 branches. All right. Okay, grabbing the 3 branches as well as the gibbon and then the chimpanzee. And in terms of human hand, we do not grab 3 branches. Okay? Instead, we use tools. Alright? We use tools in our daily activities. Something like that. Okay? So that is why our hand is completely different from the one from the chimpanzee, tarsier, and gibbon. But they are made up of the same exact bones. Okay? It is made up of some bones that makes up the same thing as the human hand. Alright, so that is why they are homologous. Alright, another example of homologous structure is found on insect, the hind wings. Okay, so the hind wings. Alright, so the hind wings of this insect, so in Diptera, or in the order Diptera, insects there doesn't have hind wings. Alright. In the Lepidoptera, the butterflies, insect there as hind wings, like the one that you have right here. But it is larger compared to the one that you have over here in the Coleoptera. Okay? In the Coleoptera, they do not have a hind wings, but they have something like this. Okay? So, as you can see, they are completely different from each other in terms of they are completely different from each other in terms of how they function. All right? So in terms of how they function, but okay, but the thing there is the hind wings, okay? The hind wings have different origins. All right? So the hind wings have different origins. Okay? But the structure of the hind wings that you have right here are almost the same. They are membranous. Okay? They are membranous from the fly, from the dragonfly, from the butterfly, and then from the ladybug over here. Okay? They are membranous. But the only difference among their hind wings is their structures. Okay? The differences is in their structure. Okay? So that is why the hind wings of Diptera has different pattern with the dragonfly, with the butterfly, so on and then so forth. Okay? So that is the homologous structures of the hind wings of your insect. Alright, so limbs. Okay, human limbs. Okay, so if you take a look at the human limbs, we have here our elbow over here. Okay, and the arms. And we have the fingers or our hand. Alright, so if you take a look at the bones that makes up this structure that you have right here in our body, this one. Okay, this one. If you take a look at the bone, they look the same as the cat. And from the cat, it looks the same as the flippers of the whale. And it looks the same as the bat's wing. They look the same. Okay, the bone structures are the same. The name of the bones are also the same. But the only thing that differs is their function. Human hands are differently, it has different purpose. The cat's limb is also different in purpose. The whale's flipper, you know its purpose for swimming, and the bat's wing is also has also a different purpose. It is for flying. So definitely, the picture that you are seeing right now, this is a homologous structure. All right. So to sum up these structures that you have right here, so we have on dragonfly and bird comparison. So the wings are not homologous, but they are analogous. They have the same function. Okay? So although the wings are different, this is membranous and this one is made up of bones. So but they have one purpose, and that is for flying. And that's all it needs. All right, next one, the bird's wing and the penguin's flipper. They are homologous. Yes, they are made up of the exact same bones, but they are not analogous. All right, so they are not analogous. Why? Because penguin's flipper are for swimming, while the bird's wing is for flying. Okay, so that's one. All right, next one. We have homologous and analogous. All right, so sea lions. Okay, sea lions, flippers, and whale or penguins flipper. They are homologous and also analogous at the same time because they are made up of the same exact bones and it has the same exact function. Okay, it has the same exact function, but in some cases they are unrelated to each other. All right, so mammals, these are birds. Okay, next one, we have the sea lion and the dragonfly. They are not homologous. This is made up of membrane and these are made up of bones. Also, they are not analogous. Why is it so? Because this one is for swimming and this one is for flying. So that's the idea of this. Okay? That's the idea of the structure that you have right here between homologous and the analogous structures. All right. So let's go now to the third and the last structures, evolution by structures. We called it the vestigial structures. So what are vestigial structures? These are homologous characters of organism that are seemingly lost at all. Okay? And most of their original function in the species have lost its function. Okay? So in other organism, if you take a look at that particular parts in other organism, it has function. But in some organism, that same part has lost its function through evolution. Through evolutionary process. So how does it work? Okay, what does it look like? Vestigial structures like the whale's pelvis. Since whale doesn't walk on land, so therefore it doesn't need the pelvis. All right? So it doesn't need the pelvis after all. So that is now treated as a vestigial structure, but it's still there. All right? It's still there. It is not disappeared. Okay? It is not disappeared. All right. So whale's pelvis. Okay, another one is appendix. All right. Other one is appendix, and we have another one which is called the tailbone in humans. The tailbone in humans. Okay. We have the tonsils. Okay, so the tonsils. Okay? So those are the things that are not needed, but in some animals, okay, that in some animals those things have certain purpose. Okay? So that is the vestigial structure. Okay? So here we are now in the types of evolution. All right. So okay, we are still in the comparative anatomy. All right? We are still in the comparative anatomy. Okay, so under the comparative anatomy there are types of evolution. Okay? In order for a homologous structure to work, all right? In order for the analogous structure to work, all right? There is a reason behind those structures that you have right here. Okay, these are the things that we need to find out. There are three of them. We have the convergent evolution and the divergent, and we have the parallel evolution. Okay, so we will go through it one by one. Okay, let's start first with convergent evolution. So what do we mean by convergent evolution? Okay, this is the acquisition of same biological trait in unrelated lineages. Just like, all right, so just like the analogous structure, two organisms that are unrelated but they have the same function on that particular part. Okay, that is a convergent evolution. Okay, for example, I will going to use a nitrogenous base here. A is for adenine. Okay, for you to understand, A is for adenine and T is for thymine. Okay, so I will use a nitrogenous base on how this evolution process work. Okay, so in convergent evolution, two unrelated organism, one organism has adenine on its DNA, and one organism has a thymine on a certain segment of the DNA. Okay, in some cases, through evolutionary, through adaptation, through the environment, okay, because they live in the same environment. One ingredient here is the organism lives on the same environment. All right, they experience the same environmental pressure. All right, now what happens is from adenine it becomes serine, or S stands for serine. This is just hypothetical. All right, so this is just hypothetical. I just use the nitrogenous base for you to easily understand how this convergent evolution works. All right, so the thymine that you have right here transformed also to serine. So why is that so? It's because they live on the same environment. So what do you expect? All right, what do you expect? That environment mutates. All right, allows the mutation of adenine to become serine, thymine also to become serine. All right, so that's how it works. That's how convergent evolution works. So first example that we have right here is the comparison between Tasmanian dog, all right, a Tasmanian dog, which is Tylacinus cynocephalus, and the Canis lupus, which is the wolf. All right, so wolf. So if you happen to notice, they have the same skull structure over here. The jaw is also the same. All right, so it's almost the same. Okay, so although they belong to different lineages. Okay, Tasmanian dog is a marsupial, and wolf, all right, wolf is a carnivore. All right, it belongs to placental mammals. All right, so wolf is a placental mammal. So they have complete different lineages, but as you can see on their structure, they have almost the same structure. All right, so next one. This is the Tasmanian dog, okay, or Tasmanian devil, right, in some cases. So is the Tasmanian devil is existing? All right, so it is not existing anymore. So it is a extinct organism. Okay. Next one is koala and humans. Okay. They belong, they are both mammals, but humans are placental. Okay, humans are placental, and koala are marsupials. Okay, so that's the difference. Okay. All right, so we have right here the duck-billed platypus and the bird. Okay, now what is the difference? Now the difference is they are not related because this is a mammal. All right, and this is a bird. or aves. Okay? Now, what's the similarity? This is egg laying. It lays on egg. And this one also lays on egg. And it has also a scale on its feet. Okay? It has also a bill or a beak. So it has also a beak. So that's their similarity. Although they are not somehow related to each other. These two organisms are not related to each other. So that's the difference. Okay? So another one, dinosaurs and birds. These are reptiles. These are reptiles and these are birds. So the only thing that okay, another difference is this is cold-blooded and this is warm-blooded. Okay? But the similarity is their body is made up of scales. Okay, their body is made up of scales. So in birds, the scales is located at their feet, and in reptiles, all of its body parts are made up of scales. Okay, so that's their differences. Okay, that's their differences. Okay, so that is another one. We have the anteaters. So I mentioned this one a while ago. Okay, they are also product of convergent evolution. Okay, another one, the occurrence of different shapes of leaves and purpose. Okay, so some leaves are for photosynthetic purposes. Okay, there are some that are for decorative purposes. Okay, and there are some is for attracting purposes. Okay, there are some for photosynthetic efficiency purposes. Okay, and there are some for protection. The needles of your cactus. Okay, the needles of the cactus are leaves. All right? The needles of the cactus are leaves. They are not stems or they are not whatever part of the plant. They are leaves, specialized leaves. Okay, they are for protection and at the same time they prevent excessive water loss. Okay? They prevent excessive water loss in their system. Okay, next one. Next one is the divergent evolution. So, we have the convergent and we have the divergent evolution. Now, the divergent evolution is somehow a result of diffusion of the same species. Again, same species. Adapting to different environments. Different environments. Now, one ingredient that you have right here, in order for the divergent evolution to occur, you need to have, the organism needs to belong to different environment. Alright, so if the environment is not different, alright, if the environment is not different, then therefore divergent evolution will not happen. Okay, now, automatically it leads to somehow natural selection, and it occurs because of this natural selection, it enables the organism to occur some natural or specific mutation on its body, developing these certain body parts, adapting to that particular environment. Okay, so let me use again the nucleotides or the bases. All right, let's use again the bases, adenine. Okay, so it tells us that these two organisms that you have right here are from the same group. Okay, same species. Because they contain the same segment. Because they contain the same base on a certain segment of their DNA. But unfortunately, the environment is different. So, from adenine, it became a serine. And from the other side, because they are living now separately, the other one has a thymine now on the same segment. Okay? So, although they are the same species, but because of their environment, they look now different to each other. That is the divergent evolution. Okay? Now, first example that we have right here is the coloration. Okay? The coloration of butterfly's wing. Okay? So as you notice that every kind of butterfly has different coloration of wings. There are white, there are some patterns, some have a complicated pattern, some have a very simple pattern, some are big, some are small, something like that. So these are some product of divergent evolution. Okay? So because of the environment, differences in the environment in which this organism lives, different body parts. Okay, another example that we have right here, if you take a look at this picture, we have the placental mammals on the side, on this side. We have the Australian marsupials, okay, and its counterpart on the placental side, okay. So as you can see, they look the same, okay. The mole, they look the same. The anteater looks the same. The mouse and the marsupial mouse looks the same, but because of environmental changes due to the idea of plate tectonics, something like that, because of the separation of lithospheric plates, what we have right here is a two new set of organism. Okay? A two new set of organism. Probably, it started as marsupials and eventually evolved to become placentals because of this separation. So what are marsupials? These are animals that has pouch. Alright? Marsupials has pouch. So kangaroos also are part of marsupials. Okay? So pouch. They put their offsprings. Alright? They put their offspring on the pouch to develop. Okay? So the placentals doesn't have that. Instead, the offspring or the new offspring or newborn is developing inside the mother's body. Okay? It develops inside the mother's body. So that's one of the difference here. Okay? So that was placental mammals and Australian marsupials. We have the birds, including the finches, that Darwin studied in the Galapagos Island. So including those finches, okay, is a product of divergent evolution. Okay? Okay, the finches. So although they look like a finch, all of them, they look the same, but they have one thing in difference. The beaks that you have over here. Because of different food source, they develop different beaks. Alright, the last one is parallel evolution. Alright, so the last one is parallel evolution. Now, what is parallel evolution? This is the development of similar traits. Alright, so I forgot the letter T here. Alright, so this is the development of similar traits on a different but not closely related species. Okay? Similar trait in different but not closely related species. For example, these two that you have right here, although they have the same adenine on their segments, but they are not related to each other. Okay? These two are not related to each other. Okay? So, not closely related. Okay? Now, upon development or upon evolution, okay, upon evolution process, due to the similarities in the environment, probably, okay, due to the similarities or differences, although the environment is different or not, all right, even the environment is different or not, the thing there is the evolutionary process that happened here is somehow the same. Okay, from adenine, both of them develop to have a serine on their DNA segment. Okay? They develop a serine on their DNA segment, although they are not related to each other. Okay? They are not closely related to each other. Despite that, they have the same or they have different environment. Okay? So these are the cases of what they call parallel evolution. Example of this are the butterflies. Okay? So the butterfly wings, okay, the butterfly wings are very good example of parallel evolution. Okay, the coloration that you have right there. Okay, the coloration that you have right there. Although it looks different, okay, it looks different from each other, but the wing structure itself is the same. Okay, the wing structure itself is the same, and the parts that makes up the wings of this butterfly are the same. Okay, although some patterns in their wings are different, but the structure of the wings is the same as well. Is the same. Okay, so that is the butterflies. We have the egg-laying mammals over here. So we have the spiny echidna. We have the porcupine. All right, so we have the porcupine and we have the hedgehog. This is an egg-laying mammal. This is a placental mammal. Also, this one is also a placental mammal. Okay? Now, what is the similarities among them? Okay, what is the similarities among them? The similarities is they have spikes or spines, all right, for protection. Okay, they have spines for protection. Although this group is not related to each other. All right? Although this group is not related to each other. This one, okay, this one is not related to this. And also this two is not related to this. Okay? So they develop the same exact characteristic. Okay? Although they are not closely related. Okay, another one is the gliding. All right? So the gliding feature or the parts of the gliding parts of your sugar glider, flying lemur, something like that, or the flying squirrel, okay, and the ancient or primitive flying squirrel, something like that. Okay, all of them develop the same structure for gliding. Okay, all of them develop the same structure for gliding, and it has the same purpose. Okay, it has the same purpose. Although they are not closely related to each other. So this one is not closely related to this, and this one is not closely related to either of the three. Okay, they are not closely related to each other, but they have one certain parts that is common among them. Okay, and that is their gliding parts, all right, of their body. Okay. Okay, another one, elephant. Okay, so primitive elephants or ancient elephants have shorter nose, and modern elephants have a longer nose. Okay, again, they are a product of parallel evolution. Okay, they are a product of parallel evolution. The nose, all right, the nose itself has a similar function. The nose has a similar function, but the overall body part, okay, the overall body part is completely, or the organism itself is completely unrelated to each other. Okay, so that was the elephant versus the ancient elephant. All right. So we are here right now in the comparative embryology. Okay, so this is the third part. Okay, this is the third evidence of evolution. So we have now, first one, we have the biogeography and we have the comparative anatomy. All right, so on this third part, we have the comparative embryology. So what do we mean by comparative embryology? This is the study of the structures that appears during the development of the organism in embryo, as embryo. All right, so as embryo, so we can use the embryo of the organism to find out if there are similarities among them. Okay, and if there are similarities among them, then therefore we can say that evolution is occurring. Okay, so that is comparative embryology. All right. So the first example that we have right here. So you have seen this one already, okay, in the lecture earlier. Okay? So if you close or if you cover, okay, the second and then the third row of this picture, and let me ask you one simple question. Which one, all right, which one of this set, or which one of these samples that we have right here, which of these embryos belong to a fish, belongs to a human, belongs to a turtle or tortoise, belongs to a salamander, belongs to a bird, so on and so forth. Okay, which of this embryo? Okay, probably you cannot tell. All right, so probably you cannot tell, and you will tell me that they are all the same. Okay, how come that this embryo will become a fish, a human, or even any kind of organism or any kind of animal? The thing here is the embryo looks the same. Okay, the embryo looks the same that you have right here. Okay, so this is what the comparative embryology talks about evolution. All right, so by showing you the second and then the third row, that's the only time that you can distinguish their difference. Okay, by showing this second and third row to you. Okay, and you will realize that this one is belong to human, and this one becomes the rabbit, and then this one becomes the fish, and so on and then so forth. So it tells us that in by studying the embryo or by studying the embryo of each and every organism here on this planet, you can conclude that we have one common ancestor. Okay? And probably our ancestor looks like this. Okay? Probably our ancestor looks like the one that you have over here. Okay? So, if you're going to take a look in humans, chicken, snake, salamander, and fish, they have the tail. Okay? They have the tail. Okay? Nothing is different. Now, if you take a closer look, they have pouches. Okay? These are pouches, pharyngeal pouches. In some cases, the fish have pharyngeal pouches, and this becomes the gills. In salamanders, this become also part of their gills, and some cases this becomes the lungs. All right, in the snake, this becomes the gill first, and then it becomes the lungs. All right, and for the chicken, it becomes the bones. All right, it becomes the bones of their ear, as well as in human. Okay, it becomes the bones of our inner ear, the hammer, anvil, and then the stirrup, bones of the inner ear. Okay, so these are the fate. All right, so these are the fate of the pharyngeal pouches that you see here. But regardless of which, they started as pharyngeal pouches. Okay, so it tells us that our ancestor, our common ancestor among this organism contains the same parts. So it looks like this. Okay, so this is what they call the lancelet. All right, so it is the primitive it has a primitive backbone called notochord. So that is why all vertebrates that lives on land, all right? All vertebrates that lives on land has one common ancestor, and that is this organism called the lancelet. Okay? It has a pharynx with gill slits. All right? It has a post-anal tail, the same thing that you see here. Right? The same thing that you see here. And it has also a brain, nerve cord, and a mouth. Something like that. And it looks like something like this in actual. Okay? So these are the gill slits over here. And this is the notochord, which becomes the spinal cord, all right, in some higher vertebrates. Okay, and we have the post-anal tail over here, something like that. So the lancelet. Now, studying the embryonic features, okay, will lead us to the idea that evolution occurs. Okay, so that is the comparative embryology. So the fourth and last and said to be the most persuasive. All right, this is the most persuasive because it can give you the exact details of why organism is the same, why organisms are the same and somehow different from each other. All right, so this is the molecular biology. Okay, this is the study of the molecular basis of genes and the gene expression in the organism. Okay, so in studying the genes of the organism, we will be able to find out the similarities and differences on all organisms. All right. So because of this human genome project that happened in the 90s, all right. So because of this human genome project, we be able to map out the human genes. And we found out that the human genes is much smaller compared to other animals. We have 25,000, I think. All right, if my memory serves me right. We have 25,000 genes. Plants have more than genes than us. All right, plants. And our genes is similar to a chicken. Okay? Our genes is similar in numbers of a chicken. Okay? So that's the okay, if you think that our genes are somehow sophisticated, well, it's not. Okay? It's not. Okay. So let's go now to the similarities of genes. Okay? Now, what percent of the genes in humans do we share in other organisms? So, first one is the I forgot the name of this plant. Okay, I think this is I forgot. All right. So sorry for that one. I forgot. It's on my mouth already. It's on my tongue already, but I cannot recall. All right. So this plant that you have right here is has 18% similarities with our genes. Okay? Next one, the yeast, which is a fungi. All right? Has 26 similarities. So probably being heterotrophic after all. Okay. In plants, I think the vascular system, something like that. Okay, the transport system. Who knows? All right. So in fruit fly, we have 44%. So since they are animals, so this is an animal. So fruit fly is an animal. So we can safely say that somehow there are some parts of the genes that are the same with the fruit fly. And in mouse, we have 92%. Since these are placental animals. Okay? So somehow we are the same. Okay? And in the chimpanzee, we have 98% similarities. The 2% of which is the development of the brain. Probably. Okay? So in chimpanzees, the 2%. Okay, the 2% that is different from our genes is probably the development of the brain and the development of the larger capacity of the brain. Okay, okay, and that's it. Okay, that is the number of genes that you share on other organism. Okay, so another one is this rhesus factor. Okay, the rhesus factor or the amino acid that we share. Okay? The amino acid that we share in the hemoglobin. Okay? In this organism that you have right here. Now, if we take a look at the hemoglobin or the amino acid of the hemoglobins in human and the rhesus monkey, it is somehow similar to each other. But there are some bases, there are some amino acids that are not that are different from each other. Okay? So these are only the difference. So it's about 10% or 10% difference. Okay, something like that. Now, in terms of mouse, the amino acid that is composed in our blood, in the hemoglobin of our blood, is somehow 25% or 26%, has 26% difference compared to humans. Now, in terms of the chicken, it is somehow 40% or something like that. In frog, around 60% difference. And in lamprey, this is a jawless fish. Alright, so this is a jawless fish. So, it is somehow 125% different. Okay, so completely different in terms of their blood structure. Okay, so okay, this is the work. How do we manage? How did we manage to get this difference? Now, by studying the segments of the DNA, the genes, we will be able to map out the differences on these animals or this group of organisms that you have right here. And somehow, we can safely or we can conclude that somehow there are somehow relationship between these organisms that you have right here. Although they have differences, but there are some related things that these organisms share with each other. Okay? Okay. In terms of related things, okay, these are some sequences of DNA that somehow this part of the DNA is somehow different from some organism. For example, in humans, this segment is similar to the chimpanzee and it is different from rat. Okay, so whatever segment is this, all right, whatever segment is this, if it is a body structure, so obviously the rat has a different body structure compared to chimpanzee. Okay, so something like that. Okay, a guinea pig. Okay, a guinea pig. So it has an adenine on that segment. Cow also has a adenine on that segment. Only the rat has a different base on that particular segment. Okay, so who knows what is this segment for? Okay, another segment from number 30. All right, as you notice that rat also is different. Okay, Now, from the 40, also the same. On 50, all of the organisms are the same. The segments of DNA are the same. Okay? So, we don't know what that segment is for. So, probably, it is a certain function in our body that is functioning as the same on all organisms that you have over here. Okay, we have the humans on this segment of the DNA. So, human, chimpanzee, guinea pig, again, they are the same in some region. And the rat on that segment is completely different. Okay, completely different to that particular numbered segment. Okay, so we have 70, 80, 90, and on 80th segment, different again. Okay, on 100, okay, segment, as you can see, in our segment, it is deleted. But in other animals, it is filled up. Alright? Like guinea pig, cow, and dog, it is filled up. But, again, in the guinea pig, rat, cow, and dog, they have different bases. Okay? They have different bases. So, these are the... Okay, so these are the things. Okay, on that particular segment. Also, on 110, okay, also on 110, so as you can see right here, it is different. Okay, from 120th, from 120th to 140th segment, they are the same all throughout. Okay, so they are the same all throughout. So that's the study of the segments of the DNA through molecular biology. All right, so since we are talking about the molecular differences and its relationship to evolution in organism, so why not talk about the differences of our species to other organism, humans. Okay, now the better word, instead of using unique, okay, some people are constantly using the word unique in our species as humans. Okay, actually, humans are not unique after all. There are some traits or there are some characteristics or abilities in humans that are possessed also by other organisms. So maybe instead of using word unique, we can use the word most advanced, I think. Okay? So because the abilities and traits that we possess right now came from the other animals. All right? So came from other animals and we just improved these particular traits in general. We what we did is improve these particular traits for our purpose. Okay? For different purposes in our daily living. All right. For example, I have right here the sense of humor. Okay, sense of humor, we took that ability or characteristic from apes. Okay? So from apes. So that sense of humor. Okay? So apes always there are some research that observed that apes are the one that they contain sense of humor in everything that they do. All right. Another one, tool use and construction. Birds like the raven, like the one that you have right here, the raven, is an organism or an animal that is using any kinds of tool or any tools at its disposal. Okay, there are some accounts on that. If you can see some videos circulating in social media about these ravens that are using some tools in order to get a job done. So probably the tool use and construction we took or we got that ability from these birds. All right, next one, long-term memory. Okay, there are some birds that are capable of doing long-term memory, not just human. So probably that ability, we took that ability from this animal called Clark's nutcrackers. All right, chimpanzees, counting numbers. All right, so counting numbers or basic arithmetic, although it is somehow primitive, but still humans did not get that ability by itself. We took that ability from chimpanzees. Also, we have the self-awareness, magpies, apes, dolphins, and elephants also has this kind of ability. culture. All right, dolphins and some whales have a culture. All right, so have a culture. So probably the formation of culture in some society, all right, was taken from an animal. Although some in animals it is somehow primitive. Okay, and emotions. All right, emotions. We took this ability. We got this ability from elephants. Elephants has this kind of emotions. Okay, they can portray any emotion or emotions. Okay, in some accounts. Okay, complex communication. Okay, chimpanzees is doing that already. The complex communication. All right. Now, in terms of speed, land speed, humans cannot outspeed any kind of animal. All right. So we have here the bird is 170 kilometers per hour, something like that. Okay? We are very inferior. Okay? Inferior to some extent in terms of speed. Okay? So in eyesight, okay, in terms of eyesight, eagles have a good eyesight than humans. All right. Next one, in terms of hearing and communication, nothing beats the whale. All right, dolphins, something like that. Killer whale. All right, in terms of lifespan, we are also inferior on that portion. So, in terms of lifespan, tortoises can live up to 200 years. All right, the clam. All right, so the bivalves. All right, these are bivalves. This clam can live for about 405 to 410 years. Imagine that. All right. Next one, we have okay. Next one, we have the size. Okay, in terms of size, we are outmatched as well. The biggest animal here on Earth is the whale. All right. So, in terms of long distance running, all right, in terms of long distance running, we are the one. Okay, we are the winner in terms of long distance running. Okay, in 24 hours, we have 286 kilometers in total. And in 48-hour run, 48-hour marathon, we have 428 kilometers overall range. Okay, in terms of long distance running. No animal can beat us in the long distance running. Okay? So that's the only I think that's the only ability. All right. In which humans can achieve more. Okay. All right. So that's the difference. Okay. So that's the difference. Instead of using word unique, use the word most advanced. Okay. So, all right. So to end up this third phase or to end up this second phase of our discussion, let me have first this quote coming from Charles Darwin himself. He said that it is not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent that survives. It is the one that is most adaptable to change is the one who will survive. Okay? It makes sense. It makes sense. All of the things that we have talked about from the part 1 of this lesson to the part 2 of this lesson, uh, there is no account that intelligent organism or organism that has a lot of muscles or the strongest one will likely to survive. Okay? So it is not those two organisms. It is the one who can adapt to that particular change. Okay? So if the environment change, if the organism adapt to that organism will survive. If that organism cannot adapt, then therefore he will that organism will likely to be extinct. Right? So that is Charles Darwin, the proponent of the natural selection theory and the common descent theory. All right. So before we end everything in this lesson, let me show you one thing. Now, if you want to understand more about evolution, you can go to this website pbs.org. All right, and continue this link that you have over here, and you will see there the evolution lab. Now, in this evolution lab created by the PBS, it has 6 missions on it, and all you need to do is to play those mission, and as much as possible, understand how evolution works. All right. So in this case, we have we will try this mission number 1. We will try to play this one, and there are a lot of activities. Okay, presented on each mission.
An evolutionary phylogenetic tree is a depiction of how different species are related to each other.
We'll start with just one branch, which
so
represents a single
some
species,
minor lecture that
like
you have
cushion
right here.
sea
You can
stars
watch
or
the
human
lecture
beings.
before
the top
you
of that
play
branch
the game.
contains all the individual organisms of that species.
Okay, let's try to play this game. Okay, so we have here the gecko and the palm tree. Are these two related to each other in some cases? So, okay, you might want to drag these two creatures that you have right here in the middle. Okay. Now, I will not play all this game. Okay, I will not finish this game. I will just show you how it is done. Okay, for example, there's one trait over here. There's one characteristic. So, cells with nuclei. All right, so how about these cells with nuclei? So, if you put this one here, where will you put this cell with nuclei? Are the geckos the only creatures, or are the only species that has cells with nuclei? Or are the palm tree? Are the palm trees the only organisms that has a nuclei on this cell, on their cells? Which one do you think? All right. So you can put this one over here. So meaning to say that these two organisms shared characteristic with one another. It is that characteristic called the cells with nuclei. And besides, this gecko and palm tree are eukaryotic organism, right? Okay. So if you continue to play this game and you can finish the mission number 1, then you can proceed to the next mission. There are 6 of them for you to understand how evolution works. All right. So you might want to check this one out. Okay. And if you have a free time, okay, you play this game. Okay. It is fun and interactive. Okay. And that ends up our topic for this video lesson. I hope you'll be able to get a value on the topic we discussed today. And if so, don't forget to like this video. If you have questions, suggestions, write them down in the comment section below this video. It will help me a lot in the algorithm for my YouTube channel. And most importantly, don't forget to subscribe on my channel and hit the notification bell for you to be updated for more science video lessons like this in the future. I'll see you next time, everyone. Enjoy learning and peace out.
Bakaみたい子供なのね